Ian Rogers is suing her ex-boyfriend's parents, Jody and Robert Denniston, for insurance money after her property was destroyed in a fire.
Court can order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case 3054, Rogers versus Denniston.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Miss Rogers, let me see if I understand what your position is. You were in foster care for a long period of time, and at some point you met the defendant's son and became involved with the defendant's son. In what year was that, and how old were you?
June of 2019, I had just turned 18.
And I assume that you either decided to or you had aged out of the residential foster care system, and you were invited to live in the defendant's home.
Yes, ma'am.
And you lived in the defendant's home from June 2019 until when?
Until October of 2021, when the house fire occurred.
And what were you doing between 2019 and 2021?
As in occupation?
What were you doing? Were you in school? Were you working? What were you doing?
I was doing full-time school, and then I had a couple of jobs here and there.
What full-time school?
I was in school to become a social worker for foster youth.
In what months were you in school and year?
August 2019, all the way up until now.
Okay. And who was paying for your school?
The state of California.
Are you almost finished with a degree?
Yes, ma'am.
What school?
I'm going to Stanislaus State in Turlock.
Is that where you were going to school when you were living with them?
I went to a junior college with them, and then halfway through living with them, I switched to Stanislaus State, which is 4-year.
Were you receiving housing subsidies from foster care or just tuition for school?
The last 3 months up until I turned 21, I was receiving house subsidy.
And how much were you receiving from the state as a housing subsidy?
I only got $1,000 3 times.
Did you use that housing subsidy to give any portion of that money to the defendants?
I used a portion of it. They had requested $150 a month.
Starting when?
Starting October 2020, they started requesting $100 a month in order to pay for PG&E, gas, electricity.
And did you pay it?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, this is the lawsuit. There was a fire in the house, and it is your claim that $6,000 worth of your property was destroyed. You had no renter's insurance.
Correct.
And it is your claim that the defendants used receipts that you had given them to put into insurance, and they were reimbursed by insurance for your claims, but never gave you any money.
Correct.
That's what the case is about. My first question is, how do you know they were reimbursed for your claims?
I had submitted any and all receipts for the insurance company. In September of 2022, I had broken up with their son in December of 2022. So a couple-month time span, I knew that they were moving into their house about 2 weeks after the fact that I had broken up with their son. So after they had moved into their house, after everything was refurnished and rebuilt, that's when I knew that they had gotten paid out.
Well, I'm just asking you, do you have any information from the insurance company that part of the claim, such their bills that were in your name, that part of the claim was actually paid to the defendants?
I had a Google Doc form that the Dennisons had sent me a little bit ago, and it was just them stating that this is how much they think that I deserve from the fire. I believe deserve is the correct word.
Maybe I could take a look at that.
And then I also have all the receipts and everything that I had submitted to the Dennisons.
I may look at that too, but I would like to see the first document that you discussed.
There was actually 2 documents that they had sent me.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Kevin brings Lillian's document to Judy, who reviews it.
What's this truck money?
That was on a separate case, Your Honor.
What do you mean it was on a separate case?
I had filed with small claims court 2 separate cases against the Dennisons, one against Mr. and Mrs. Dennison, one against their son, Bryson Dennison.
What's the truck money is my question.
I had bought in him a truck, and then we had totaled the vehicle, and he still had owed me money on it, but I allowed him to get a different truck with the reimbursement from the insurance.
What happened with that case of the $3,300?
It still hasn't got paid to me yet.
What?
It still has not got paid.
Have you gone to court with it?
No, not yet.
Are you scheduled to go to court?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
On the 29th of this month.
And that case is not against the Dennisons, that's against their son.
Yes, ma'am.
That's you?
Yeah.
Okay. This says this makes everything final and done with this payment. We're not talking about the truck. $2,803.17. That's what you said that her items were worth.
Correct.
Did you pay her that?
No, because she did not agree to that amount.
Just a second. But that's what you offered her. $2,803.17.
Correct.
Caption. Coming up.
In June, you ordered things online, and you had shipped to you a body oil moisturizer for $13. This happened in October. You think that they're going to reimburse you for that? It's not happening. I want you to get your act together. That's not happening.
Lillian nods. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Lillian, Jody, and Robert.
Lillian Rogers claims her ex-boyfriend's parents, Jody and Robert Denniston, owe her money from an insurance claim after their home was destroyed in a fire.
What is this broken items, hole in the wall of being paid with washer and dryer that we didn't take out of the house? They were Rob's sisters and given to their son for use, value of at least, what is that?
That's regarding the second case, Your Honor. I was being
That
the
has
mediator.
nothing to do. All I want to know is this whole document that you gave me has to do with a lot of other stuff.
Correct.
Yes,
I was the mediator between the two of them.
Okay, but the $2,800 was for the fire damage.
Correct.
For the receipt for the fire damage.
Correct.
And all of this other stuff has to do with the truck.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well then, if you add $2,800 to the $3,300, the truck money, that's what you're suing for here.
No. No, ma'am. I ended up going ahead and printing out all the documents and all the receipts that I had produced to the Dennisons regarding the fire contents money, and I had added everything up. And then I also had their spreadsheet that they had submitted into their insurance company that has my name as well as everybody else in the household's name on it.
Okay. Was any of the property that you lost reimbursed to you by the state of California?
No, ma'am.
Nothing.
No.
Lillian hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
What was the date of the fire?
October
First,
1st, 2022.
21.
21.
Well, in June, you ordered things online, and you had shipped to you a body oil moisturizer for $13. This happened in October. You think that they're going to reimburse you for that? It's not happening. I want you to get your act together. That's not happening.
So what we were told from the insurance adjusters was any and all receipts that we had, and I only had online receipts, unfortunately, due to the pandemic.
What?
I only had online receipts due to the pandemic. And
What I'm telling you is,
so I was told to produce any and all receipts I had of everything that we had in the house, regardless if it was 2 toothpicks or
oh, well, that's not happening.
a mattress.
That's not happening. Not happening. There was a fire in the house, Miss Rogers.
Yes.
The insurance company paid for the family to go to a hotel.
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
right? Did you contribute to that?
I paid my rent.
For how long?
I continued paying it until we left.
While you were in the hotel?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, she paid the $150.
How did you come up with the figure of $2,800?
It was in one of the insurance documents. It had listed in red on that form that she gave you, the depreciation of value. I had added a bunch of those items that she showed you on that first document that had Lily's name on it. It came to that amount minus the depreciation amount, and then that was the actual cash value is what they actually paid us.
May I see that in writing? That'd make my life a lot easier, and I don't have to go through
It's
this.
a huge document that I have on my email.
Okay.
Okay.
Jody produces a phone.
Did you share that document with her?
Did I share it? No.
Okay, I'd like to take a look at it. Where are you living now, Miss Rogers? Where are you living now?
I'm living technically in a barn right now, but it's a refurnished barn. And then to add clarity, I would like to mention that I said to add clarity, I would like to mention that as far as my knowledge is, the Dennisons, they had replacement insurance, which means that the depreciation value didn't matter as long as I went and purchased the same item and then brought back receipts to the insurance company.
Well, that may be them, not you.
Oh, absolutely.
That may be them, not you. You're not an insured. You sound like a smart gal. You were living there. You were paying rent. There was no negligence that caused this fire, I would assume.
No, ma'am.
On October 29th, after the fire, you bought an iPhone Pro Max
Yes.
for $1,200.
Yes. So from my understanding of a house fire, the only thing that burnt down was the garage. However, there's fire damage, there's fireman damage, and then
I want to know what happened to your phone.
Is smoke
You had
damage.
your phone.
Yes. So as far as the smoke damage, any electronicals and
No. What happened after the fire? On October 1st,
Yes.
you moved into a hotel.
Yes.
Did you use your phone between the time of the fire and October 21st? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
Okay. Then you had no right to buy another phone for $1,200.
Yes, ma'am. So according to the insurance agency, as well as the firemen and the police department, anything electronical within the house, the stove, phones, computers, anything else.
Not happening for you.
Okay.
Not happening for you.
Okay.
I don't have to see it. I just made up the difference. Yeah, I've just made up the
I
difference.
also have a list of items.
I went through enough of this to see where we're at.
And she did receive money from the state. My daughter, who's here in court, was a witness to her receiving gift cards from the state, from social services, to replace her items that were lost in the fire, such as clothing.
Did you receive any gift cards from the state?
No, ma'am.
Judy gestures for Jody's daughter to rise.
I assume you were friends while she was living there?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me your first name.
Kaylee.
Tell me about what you know about receiving gift cards from the state.
So the social worker came over to the house and was giving her a gift card to, it was either like Kohl's or JCPenney's, one of the sorts, which Lily then...
Just a second. Did you see the amount of those gift cards?
I did not see the amount, no, ma'am.
Easy. What was the amount of the gift card?
I did not receive any gift
Was a
cards.
social worker at your house?
The only time she's ever visited the house, which was in, I believe, August of 2021. That's the only time she's ever been to the house.
When we were living in the Airbnb, the social worker did come after the fire had occurred. She came over and then...
Do you remember what the name of the social worker was?
I do not.
Sit down. Stand up.
Caption, coming up.
I get a little bit leery when
Yeah.
bills are padded, and there were 1, 2, 3, 4 phones. Are these items that you listed?
Lillian Rogers has accused her ex-boyfriend's parents, Jody and Robert Deniston, of owing her money from an insurance claim. Jody and Robert say they tried to pay Lillian, but she is being greedy.
Tell me your first name, please.
Bryson.
Bryson, did you, while you were still living with Miss Rogers in the hotel or thereafter, after the fire, did you discuss with her any subsidy that she received as a result of the fire from the state?
No.
When, for the first time, did you ever hear about these gift cards?
It was when the lawsuit was filed. She never told me about any of that.
She never did.
No.
And neither did your sister.
No.
Good, very good. Sit down. Thank you. Okay, just show me, would you, for a moment, what you're referring to with regard to the depreciation value of the items.
The depreciation value?
Yeah.
Oh, I
and
think
how you got to the $2,800, which I think is probably reasonable.
it's on that big file that's downloading.
If I may, Your Honor. So everything that I had in receipts right there is just everything that I had purchased online, not talking about anything that I've ever purchased from within the home for the Denistons, for myself, anything in store. Me and Kaylee Deniston, we were quote unquote shopping buddies, and we'd go shopping every single week.
I don't care. All I'm telling you is, I looked at one major charge. There were charges for $13 for hand moisturizer and toothpaste that go away.
Yes,
you know, you use them up, but you had no reason to go to Apple to buy a new phone for $1,200 in a service plan. The fact that an insurance company person indicated to you that if there was a problem and if there was smoke, you can replace electronics, doesn't mean they're going to pay for it. And until you can produce evidence for me, and there's nothing here, that you put in claims for $6,000 and they got $6,000, which you cannot establish in what you gave me. Do you understand? I get a little bit leery when bills are, to me, when
Yeah.
bills are padded, especially when these people took you into their home,
Absolutely.
you lived there 2.5 years, you paid a nominal rent, you bought an awful lot of stuff, which means that you spent your housing, the $3,000 that you were supposed to spend in, and I don't know what other monies you were getting from the state because you had to get some money to live.
No, ma'am. I had aged out of foster care and I was not eligible for any benefits outside of foster care besides the last 3 months of me turning 21. And by that point, I had to rebuy all of the items I've ever had because everything I've ever owned was in that house.
I know the feeling. I was just saying, I know the feeling. We lost everything in our home, too.
So that's where that $3,000 went to.
It's still downloading. What document I do have is her list, and I itemized what was hers, what was a gift, and what was not. And that's what has the totals on the bottom. No, I don't have that. It was like 2,000 pages long.
Jody hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Could you explain to me, I'm just curious, why are there 4 items here for iPhones?
That's what she's claiming, that she had bought all those phones. That's the list that she had given me of items that she had receipts for.
There were 1, 2, 3, 4 phones
No,
on
ma'am.
this.
I only had turned in the receipts for Bryson Denniston and I's phone. However, on our account, there was the other 2 phones within the home. It was still within the home.
Just a second.
So they got ruined.
Just a second. Are these items that you listed?
Those are the items with the receipts I helped produce to the Dennisons, correct?
So these are items that you said you should be reimbursed for.
Not me personally, because I didn't buy 2 of the phones.
Which 2 did you buy?
I only bought the first 2.
The 2 expensive ones for $2,500.
Yes.
Goodbye. $2,800, which is what they offered you. That's what you're getting. Goodbye. We're done here.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Lillian, then the Dennistons.
I'm glad that I was awarded something. It is unfortunate because I did lose everything that I did have in the fire, but it's okay because we can always rebuild and renew and everything else in between.
I still felt like we didn't owe her anything because she didn't have a renter's policy. She wasn't on our homeowners, but I agree.
I was alone in the house with their son, and it was a pretty scary experience. Thank goodness that a couple of us were home, so not everything in the whole house was tarnished. They were able to keep a couple of their personal items, so that was really nice.
I'm a little hurt. I opened up my heart, my home, my family are just good nature, and to have this happen, it's heartbreaking.
They absolutely did help me out, and I do appreciate them for everything. Unfortunately, there's a backstory to everything, of course.
I'll still continue to help people. It's our good nature, it's what we do as human beings.
But there's her side, his side, his side, and the truth. And what's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong, and not giving me my portion is wrong.
She's just a greedy little brat. Entitled.
At the end of the day, if they're keeping my money, isn't they're trying to be greedy?
Sarah and Judy.
It seemed like the defendants were really cared for the plaintiff, allowed her to move into the house, had a good relationship, didn't even charge her any rent until they decided that they had adult children that should start contributing to the home, and they included her in with their own children in the responsibilities to pay a nominal amount of rent. So it's always tough in situations like that when we see plaintiffs such as this one suing people who you and I look at as their saviors. They gave you a warm place to sleep, they fed you, you had a roof over your head, all of these things that they lost everything too in the fire. I don't think that they were unreasonable. She went with them to the Airbnbs and the hotels afterwards. They didn't leave her out on the street. So I couldn't imagine suing somebody after all of that unfolded.
It's probably had to do with a very bad breakup of the relationship that they had with the son. But I think the bottom line lesson is if you have things that are valuable and if you are a renter, and even though she was paying a nominal amount of money, it's still rent.
Sure.
That renter's insurance, especially if you have very little, is very inexpensive. Mm-hmm. And you should have it.
Yeah.
And young people don't think about that.
Until it's too late, usually.
Right. You've rented once.
Once. And even I was ignorant to the fact that you should have renter's insurance. And I was lucky that nothing like this happened. But having now seen the different scenarios.
Grace Casey is suing her ex-husband, Roderick Casey, for medical bills and car repairs.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case 3049, Casey versus Casey.
Thank you. Miss Casey, this is your former husband. You have 2 children, according to the complaint, and it is your claim that the defendant owes you for certain expenses for your older child
That is correct.
that he agreed to pay. The defendant says he never agreed to pay any additional expenses, that his child support obligations were concluded. He fulfilled the obligation for that child. I assume you still have an outstanding order for the younger one?
Yes.
Okay, so let me get some dates down. The 2 of you were married when?
2000.
And how old are your 2 boys?
I have a 20-year-old and I have a 17-year-old.
When were you divorced?
2014.
And at the time of the divorce, was a support order entered for both boys?
Not immediately, no.
When?
We separated for probably 2 years before some kind of arrangement was made.
But I'm saying you were divorced in 2014.
Yes.
At that time, was a support obligation put into place in your divorce?
Yes.
Yes. And what was that for each of the boys?
Total monthly, I got, I believe, $600 a month.
For both boys?
For both boys.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And this was all until the boys were 18 years old?
Yes, ma'am.
And your case alleges that when the older boy turned 18, Mr. Casey terminated his support obligation to that child.
The morning he turned 18, he called
That was his
court.
support obligation, and he fulfilled it under the terms of the divorce decree.
That morning.
And stopped paying support for that child. How old is that child now?
20.
So that's 2 years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
What is that boy doing now?
He is a manager at a fitness place.
So he's working?
He's working.
Full-time?
Full-time.
And has he been working full-time since he graduated from high school?
He's just recently, about 6 months ago, started working full-time. He was going to school also, part-time.
Is he living at home?
Yes.
Okay. What you're suing for now is certain expenses, car repairs and medical bills.
Correct.
Which came first, the medical bills or the car repairs?
The car repairs first.
And when was it that car repairs were needed for the car?
It was on March 17th, 2023.
2023?
Mm-hmm. Oh, and there's another one for the car on May 16th.
Of 2023?
Of 2023.
And the medical bills?
Wisdom teeth was May 15th, 2023.
So based upon the dates that you've just given me, all 3 of these bills were incurred when your son was working full-time.
Correct.
And he lives with you.
Correct.
Does he pay you rent? Is
He
not an
does.
answer. Does he pay you rent?
He pays some.
Be very careful. Does your son pay you rent? The answer is yes.
No, he does not.
Why not?
Because he doesn't make enough.
How much does he make?
He makes $9.98 an hour.
He works full-time.
He works full-time. He makes about $600 per every 2 weeks.
That's sort of interesting. Your son is working. Don't do that. This is her case so far. Why in the world would you ask your ex-husband to pay for things for his adult child who is working full-time and living at home rent-free? Why?
Because he didn't have insurance. He didn't have the money to cover for the procedure.
Well, just a minute. That's talking about the dentist. Dentist would always take payments. He works full-time and he has a car. Mm-hmm. Why doesn't he pay for his own car repairs?
He doesn't make enough.
Well, what does he spend his money on?
What does he spend his money on? He spends the money on gas. He spends the money on food. He does buy groceries. He buys the groceries.
Just a second. He buys groceries for your whole household?
Yes, he will. Yes.
Yeah, I don't believe you.
He does.
I don't believe you. I don't believe that he buys groceries for your whole household. Do you work?
I do.
Full-time?
I do.
And you, sir?
Yes, 2 jobs.
Okay. Now, what I'd like you to do is tell me, Ms. Casey, your version of the contract that you entered into with your husband. When did that take place? Because you understand he is under no legal obligation to pay for anything at all. So I'd like you to tell me the circumstances and the date in which you entered into this contract with him.
Mm-hmm. Okay, prior to that, he was having a difficult time. I let him stay at my place until he I let Roderick stay at my place until he can get back on his feet.
Just a second.
And he said,
I don't uncross your arms. I don't know what you mean. You mean you allowed your former husband to move into your house?
To sleep on the couch, yes, because he had nowhere to go.
When?
I think it was in October maybe of last year.
October of 2022.
Yes, ma'am. And that's when I said, Roderick, I'm going to let you stay here. I'm going to help you until you can get on your feet. But you've got to help me with the boy. He's going to have his teeth pulled.
Oh, no, you didn't say all that to him in October of 2022. And then in May of 2023, he had dental work. You didn't anticipate that. I don't believe that, Miss Casey. If what you're telling me is that while he was staying with you and sleeping on the couch, you said to him, you can stay with me until you get on your feet.
Yes.
But then thereafter, you have to help me out with the boys. And he said, okay.
Yes.
Okay, is that the contract you're talking about?
Yes.
It's invalid. There's no contract.
Even though he agreed to say, I will help you.
Whatever agreement you thought you had is void for vagueness. It has to be set. Now, if you called him in May and said, there's an outstanding dental bill for Noah, would you pay it? Because he doesn't have enough money to pay it, and I have other expenses, and he said, yes, I'll pay it. That's a different story. But if you say to him, in October of 2022, I'll let you stay on the couch, but you have to continue to help me out with the boys, and he said, I will, that is not a contract.
I told him, you have to help me. I still need help. Even his mother knew that.
No, I don't care what his mother knew. I'm telling you, it's not a contract.
Caption coming up.
So now you're telling me that after you called his mother and gave her a figure, he called you and said, I will pay for it? No, didn't happen, Miss Casey.
And later today.
My order, it was so hard. I was bleeding. I tried to push the dog to escape the room. I went to the other room.
The dog bit you.
A teary-eyed woman.
Mary Grace Casey claims her ex-husband, Roderick Casey, owes for their child's medical bills and car repairs.
It's not an enforceable contract in the law. It's void for vagueness. He can say, I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you $10. That's help. I'm going to give you $20. I'll give you $100. What, instead of the dental bills being what they were $20,000. Would you expect him to pay that? What if the car bill, instead of being $500, was $2,500? See, he doesn't know. That's what I mean when they say void for vagueness. Neither one of you knew what he was contracting for. As a matter of fact, based upon what you just said to me, March and 2 bills in May, you didn't even know what they were going to be back in October.
No, you're correct. He knew once I received a bill how much it was.
Oh, be very careful, because that's not what you said to me before. I don't care whether he knew what the bills were. Did he agree to pay it in May of 2023?
He agreed.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding him agreeing, because now you're changing your story.
I called him, actually not him, his mom. I always contact him through his mom. He doesn't take my calls.
Well, yeah.
And I told him.
No, you didn't tell him.
I told her to tell her son that this is how much the bill is. And that he needs to pay it. And then she said she will contact.
She will tell him?
Yes.
And then what happened?
And then he said he would. He would.
Oh, just a second. So he called you and said, I'll pay for the bill?
He did, I believe, yes.
Oh, no, I don't believe you, Miss Casey.
No, he did. He did.
Miss Casey, I don't believe that he called you. You said, I don't speak to him. I speak to him through his mother. So now you're telling me that after you called his mother and gave her a figure, he called you and said, I will pay for it? No, didn't happen, Miss Casey. I can ask him. And if he's together, he's going to tell me.
Nope. She did not call me.
Did you call her?
Nope.
Who is this?
My mother.
Could you stand up, please? What is your last name?
Casey.
Miss Casey, do you remember when the plaintiff called you and said, I have this dental bill?
Of course I remember, because I paid it.
Which bill did you pay?
To get his teeth extracted in May.
How much was it?
Oh, $2,300, I think.
Just curious, did you make it directly to the dentist?
I was at the orthodontist. His teeth were pulled, and I carried him home.
You went with him and you paid the bill?
I did.
Miss Casey, is that accurate?
That's
very easy.
Yes.
Well, then why are you suing him?
He still owes me the money for the prescriptions that he didn't pay for and the copay.
Miss Casey, I'm dismissing your case, and I'm going to tell you, I don't believe you. I think that you were very surprised to see Mr. Casey's mother here, because if you were being truthful with me when I asked you the dates of bills that you were expecting him to pay for, and you said dental extractions and 2 car bills, You should have said that dental extractions were not his responsibility because his mother paid for those. Why didn't you tell me that?
Because I owe her that money.
She owes me that money, but she owes me about $100,000 more because I've been paying for them since they divorced for all the extra stuff. I know you know what it's like.
I do. Has Mrs. Casey been helping you since the divorce?
Yes, she has.
So why are you here today? You're getting more than your judgment of divorce provided for. Your former husband's mother has assumed a responsibility for whatever reason, and I don't have to go into it right now. Not necessary,
Later.
but much later. Has assumed a responsibility that was not her responsibility. Has she ever sued you for any of the money she's given you since 2014?
No.
So she's just taken care of her grandchildren.
No.
What? Say thank you and goodbye, Mrs. Casey.
Yes.
Say thank you and goodbye. We're done here.
Thank you.
Case is dismissed.
All right.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Mary, then Roderick.
I paid more also than he ever has. He's never had any responsibility.
I did not owe her anything, but she owed my mom.
I was trying to get the car repair, which I did pay for.
I think their marriage was a kind of a disappointment to her, and she was left to raise the two boys.
Hopefully he, grows and learns and becomes more present and do well.
Judy and Sarah.
I was super impressed with that grandmother.
I was too. When she first raised her arm, I was a little concerned for her because I know you don't like that. But then when she came back around and waited her turn and it got to her, she really had a lot of good things to say.
She was a good grandma. She realized that what her son was contributing towards the support of her grandchildren was really insufficient to support them.
Sure.
And she evidently has the resources. And it wasn't just the dental work. She said she's been paying them since the divorce, which she said is well over $100,000, I think I heard her say. So I was really impressed with her. The plaintiff looked like butter would melt in her mouth, but it turned out she was a disingenuous lady.
I agree. I think if it was anything other than a money grab from her ex-husband, maybe she's still upset about the divorce, who knows?
Maybe.
Then the first thing out of her mouth would have been, I'm suing for the associated costs with the extraction, which my former mother-in-law paid for.
Right.
Kevin.
Case 3052, Getsop versus Thomas. All parties please step forward.
Poopy Getsop is suing her former roommate, Tabitha Thomas, for medical bills, a false eviction, and emotional distress.
Ms. Newstop,
Get up here.
you were looking for a room to rent.
Yeah.
Why?
Basically, I didn't have, a stable place where to live.
How did you find the room?
So we were working together.
Where?
Heimat. It's a very luxury gym.
So you met each other at work?
Yes.
And you found out she had a room?
Exactly.
And you went to look at the room?
Yes.
When did you go to look at the room?
The beginning of November.
November of 2022?
Yes.
Okay. Looked at the room and you decided to take the room.
Yeah.
You took the room, you moved in November, according to what I read, and you paid the first month's rent in December.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have a written lease? That's a yes or a no?
No, because she asked me not to worry about it. So I trust her.
Just a second. That's a no. You did not have a written lease.
No, I do not.
When did you move out?
December 31st.
You moved out on December 31st.
Yeah.
And you paid rent for the month of December.
Yes.
So you lived there 1 month, you paid for 1 month.
Yeah.
And you had no lease.
Poopy lowers her eyes. Caption coming up.
Look, what about the eviction notice?
Just a second.
Okay.
Pay careful attention. You can't live in a house where there's a dog that you're afraid of. What do you mean an eviction notice? You want to stay in that house?
Poopy cocks her head. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Poopy and Tabitha.
Poopy Getsop claims her former roommate, Tabitha Thomas, owes for medical bills, a false eviction, and emotional distress.
Now, this is your claim. You claimed that her dog bit you.
Yes.
And you had some medical bills.
Yes.
And you want to be compensated for that.
Yes.
You're also suing for a lot of emotional distress
Correct.
because she told you you had to leave because you didn't get along with her dog.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not happening. So we're going to concentrate here on the dog. When you moved in to the room, did you see the dog?
Yes, my honor.
Okay. And on what date do you claim the dog bit you?
It was on December 9.
12/9. And tell me how that happened.
So I was in the room on Zoom meeting with my professor, and then the other roommate with who I shared the room with, she came in the room with the dog. The dog was in the leash. The dog jumped on me and he bit me.
Where?
So, right here. I still have the scar here. I still have the scar here.
Got it.
My honor, it was so hard. I was bleeding. I tried to push the dog to escape the room. I went to the other room.
Just a second. The dog bit you.
Yeah.
Was this the other roommate?
Yes.
When did you go to see a doctor or an emergency room because you say the dog bit you and there was a lot of blood? The next thing I'd like to see is the record from an emergency room or a doctor.
For emergency room. Sorry.
Poopy hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
Well, you went almost a week later to the emergency room.
Yeah.
Just a second. You went almost a week later. Patient presents with a chief complaint of a bite wound of the upper left extremity, left elbow, and right extremity. What happened to your elbow?
So after he bit me and I was trying to escape from him, he scratched my hand too.
You showed me something on your leg. The first thing that urgent care notes is chief complaint is a bite wound of the left upper extremity, left elbow. You didn't go to the doctor for a week after the bite.
No, because I was okay.
I'm just saying you didn't go to the doctor for a week. Why?
I did not have insurance. And I was scared about the cost of the bills first. And then in my head, I was hoping her to offer me that because that was her dog. She didn't.
I did.
And the second thing, I didn't have insurance and I was scared about the bills too. I was scared about my life. And I said, well, what happened?
Okay.
I'm injured.
Okay, can I see the bill? And I will see the photographs that you have of the injury.
Right here.
Just a second. The amount of your bill was $80.
Poopy hands photos and a document to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
When did you take these photographs?
I took that the same day.
Is this your leg where it's already black and blue?
Yeah.
Just a second. This is your leg where it's already black and blue, and there are 3 little that look like scratch marks. That's what it looks like. Looks like 3 little scratch marks if it was done the same day. Okay. Tell me what happened when the dog went in.
When the dog went in, he went to sniff her because she had lived there about 13 days. He wanted to sniff her. Every time that she would walk in, she would physically push him away like this.
So she was afraid of him?
Because she was afraid of him, which she did not mention when she moved in.
Don't get into a whole drama here.
Okay.
This whole thing is worth $80.
Yes.
Okay? So the dog went into her room.
The dog went into her room. He went to sniff her. She did the thing where she screamed, pushed him away. He went like this on her. He did, I think, hit her leg with his nails. Like, look at his face. Like, there's no way he would have. Okay, so then when she was screaming, I pulled him away. I offered her aid. I asked her if she was okay, if she needed anything. I then went and handled Eddie. She went and then handled her and asked her again if she needed help, if she needed to go to the doctor. She said no. She then went, took a shower, got dressed to the nines, and then went out to go to an event.
Judy gestures to Tabitha's witness.
Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. Where did you go that night? Shh, just don't give me a whole story. Where did you go?
I went to school.
Okay. And
I actually know where she went. She went to the LA Christmas parade.
May I see it?
It was on her Instagram to go interview like celebrities.
Judy reviews photos of Poopy at an event.
You have a green dress?
My honor, that is completely wrong.
Just a second. Would you just answer my question?
Yeah.
Do you have a green dress?
I didn't have green dress that day. I had the black dress with a red coat.
It doesn't matter to me, madam. I think that you're a whole lot of drama.
No,
I actually think that you're a whole lot of drama because
my honor.
No, let me.
Sorry, I'm just trying to explain you because they're trying to use that picture.
You can't explain.
They're just trying to use that picture against me. That was for the Holy Week.
You have to understand, madam.
Is different.
You have to understand, madam.
Okay, sorry.
I think you're a whole bunch of drama. I have no question that the dog either scratched or nipped you. You had a medical bill that you're entitled to be reimbursed for. You don't want to be reimbursed for that medical bill. You want $10,000.
My honor, look, what about the eviction notice?
This is not, just a second.
Okay.
Pay careful attention. You can't live in a house where there's a dog that you're afraid of. What do you mean an eviction notice? You want to stay in that house?
I wasn't afraid with her dog.
Hey, listen, a lot of drama. A lot of drama. Not $10,000, madam. 80. You paid the bill, $80. And you're lucky to get it because I read the report, and the report said, well, the first thing you complained about was something on your elbow. It didn't say anything about infection. It didn't say anything about any reason that a week later, after the event, you went to urgent care. Nothing. It didn't say swollen. It didn't say infected. It didn't say pussing. It didn't say oozing. It didn't say it needed lancing. Nothing. $80. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Poopy then Tabitha.
It's something that I really want them to understand that I was in pain.
I am so ecstatic that this is over. She has been after me and my dog and my money for a year now, and I'm glad that this is done.
It was a big dog. It wasn't a joke.
He is a golden retriever terrier mix. They're not mean dogs.
Sarah and Judy.
That plaintiff was a whole lot of drama and some hysterics sprinkled in. She seemed very dramatic, waiting a week for an injury like that.
The leg looked as if there was a black and blue mark there, but it looked like an old black and blue mark. It's possible it was from a bite. And she certainly was entitled to have her medical bill reimbursed, but not the rest of her life. I thought that it was...
Cecilia Morrow is suing her ex-boyfriend, Saeed Rodriguez, for stolen property and assault.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case 3100, Moreau versus Rodriguez.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Moreau, you and Mr. Rodriguez met, you began a friendship. Could you give the dog to your witness, please?
Cecilia removes her dog from the plaintiff's table.
You met the defendant at your place where you were both working, became friends. Shortly thereafter, you began dating, and in May of last year, you moved in together.
Yes.
Did you move into your apartment, to his apartment, or was it an apartment that you got together as a couple?
Yes, we got it together.
Who was on the lease?
It was both of us.
In October of the same year, 4 or 5 months later, you broke up.
Yes.
And your lawsuit is about what happened at the breakup and as a result of the breakup. According to your complaint, in October, the day that you, in fact, broke up, you had a fight with Mr. Rodriguez. He put his hands on you. He assaulted you. You left the house. And when you left the house, you left and went and stayed with your parents.
Yes.
You claim that Mr. Rodriguez has some property that belongs to you.
Yes.
In the house, and that the assault that took place was serious enough that you should be compensated for it, despite the fact that there was no police involvement in this, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And there were no hospital records or no doctor's records.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you didn't go to the hospital or seek any medical care, correct?
Yes.
Okay. The defendant says that there was an argument. You did, in fact, break up. After you broke up, you came to his house, and there was an argument, and you did, in fact, assault him. He denies that he assaulted you at all at the beginning of October when you broke up. And he says that when you left, you agreed that he could keep the 2 corgis that you had together in the apartment. This is one of them, and that was in October. And sometime in December, this is his complaint, you called and said, could you take the dogs for 2 days? He said, okay, because there was a threat. And you haven't returned the dogs. He would like the corgis back. Correct? Correct. Now, this is one of the corgis. Where's the other?
He was too big to fit on the plane. He's at home.
Okay, so when were the corgis purchased?
Her I got of March of last year, and the other one, Chip, I got in June of last year.
So you had one when you and the defendant moved in together?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Is this the one you had when you moved in together?
Yes.
So all the dogs were purchased after you lived together?
Yes.
Who were the dogs purchased from?
Her I got from Petland in Frisco, and the boy he found on Craigslist.
He found the dog because you wanted a second dog?
Yes.
Who paid for the dog at Petland?
I did.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Is the dog registered?
Yeah.
And that's this dog?
Yes.
Sir, this is part of your complaint. You want this dog back?
Yes, ma'am.
You neither purchased the dog, correct?
Correct.
The dog is not registered in your name, correct?
Correct.
Why would you think I would give you this dog?
Because the entirety of our relationship since we bought Fatty, I was the one taking care of her in the mornings. I would wake up 6 in the morning or whatever time it was, take her out, whether it was freezing cold, hot, raining.
Who cares?
And
who cares?
Of course, but also I have here pictures where she, once after the breakup, she was stating that she can't keep the dog's not worth the money.
If you have statements that suggest that she gave you the dog, I'll read them. But on its face, the fact that you walk the dog in the morning or in the afternoon or at night has no relevance to this whatsoever.
Well, I have the messages where she's saying that the dog is, not worth anything. I need to get rid of her. She's bad. She's telling me to come pick her up.
May I see those, please?
Yes, Your Honor.
Saeed hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
What are you selling? Who's selling something?
She is stating that she wants to sell the dog.
That Chip?
That is the other dog, yeah.
Well, one she bought, and it's in her name, so that's definitely hers.
And also...
That's Fatty, right?
Yes.
And Chip, sir?
So it was about both of them. From the day we broke up, I kept the dogs because she couldn't keep them. She couldn't take care of them. She left them in the cage all day. And I also have evidence where, her family members are throwing cheese at her face, mistreating the dogs.
Show me. Dog looks perfectly happy to me.
The corgi sits on Cecilia's witness's lap. Saeed hands a cell phone to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
Oh, you can press play.
Judy hands the phone to Sarah. Video footage of a slice of cheese tossed on a corgi's face.
What was that big piece of cheese that was thrown in the dog's eye?
That was my dad from TikTok.
Who did that to
my
the
dad? He has a TikTok account. It's a trend on TikTok to throw it on babies' faces and dogs.
That's terrible.
It's a trend.
It's stupid.
Yeah, it's a stupid trend. I didn't partake in it, but...
Why would I leave this dog in a house with a stupid person who takes out that stupidity on an animal to put a thing up on TikTok? That's absolutely outrageous.
We take care of them. They're fine. No, you don't.
What's wrong with you? Why would you even think that that's reasonable?
Cecilia smirks.
Well, you say here, I never assaulted Cecilia. We have plenty of arguments during the relationship, but I've never assaulted her. She has a tendency to blow things out of proportion. I have never put my hands on a woman in my life. Well, that's not true.
Caption, coming up. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Cecilia and Saeed.
Cecilia Morrow has accused her ex-boyfriend, Saeed Rodriguez, of assaulting her and stealing property. Saeed is countersuing for the return of 2 corgis and claims he was the one assaulted.
Why did you leave the dogs at his house for 2 months?
It wasn't 2 months straight. It was probably like a week or two straight.
No, it wasn't a week or two. What do you mean straight? You had a fight in October.
Yeah. We were co-parenting, I guess, with the dogs because I was working and so was he, so we couldn't...
Are you telling me after you broke up?
Yes.
How could you be co-parenting with somebody? You mean you would go to his house and get the dogs, or he would bring them to your house?
He would come to my house to pick them up and drop them off, and it would same way with...
And he would see you?
Yes.
He would see you?
Yes.
Did you have conversations with him?
Nothing important.
Well, I want you to tell me, after you broke up, how did you arrange that you would co-parent for the dogs?
There wasn't really an agreement. It was just, I'm busy, can you pick him up? Yes, and then same. Not true.
All right. This argument that you had in October when you broke up, you want to tell me about it, and then I'm going to get back to the dogs.
So he assaulted me. He punched a hole in a TV. He bought the TV, but still, he punched it because I told him if he was going to put his hands on me, then we're actually done. But he
punched the TV instead, and I have pictures of what he did that night.
I don't care if he punched a hole in the TV. It's his TV.
Yeah, he punched holes in the apartment that we were staying at as well.
You're still in the apartment?
Yes, Your Honor.
He's still there. Did you take her name off the lease?
Yes, Your Honor.
I don't care what he did to the apartment, madam. He's still in the apartment. He's going to have to pay for any damage. Let's move. You didn't call the police as a result of whatever incident happened in the house. You said he got mad at you, he accused you of cheating. That's what you said in the complaint. He came in, he jumped up on top of the bed, and then he choked you, and then he hit you. You have photographs of that.
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at them.
Cecilia hands photos to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them. One depicts Cecilia displaying a swollen lip.
I'm just going to take this. I don't know what this is from. Clearly shows that something happened in her mouth. I'm not exactly sure what. She has 2 marks that she's showing me. Now, did you hit her in the mouth?
No, Your Honor.
You tell me in your own words what happened the night that she came home and you accused her of cheating.
So the night that she came home, you know, I told her, I'm like, what are you doing? Where did you go? She starts trying to make up excuses. I show her messages. I'm like, okay, you're lying to me. You know, I don't appreciate it. She starts going off. I start going off. You know, just a verbal argument. And just like how she assaulted me.
No. She didn't touch you that night.
She pushed me.
Tell me how that took place, sir, that she pushed you.
She's a very angry person, and...
No. How it came about that she pushed you.
Well, started arguing back and forth about how she wasn't doing anything wrong. I told her, yes, you are.
And now you're fighting verbally back and forth.
Yes.
And she pushed you. She put her hands on your chest.
And she...
Show me how she pushed you. Show me on your roommate how she pushed you.
A young man rises.
Go ahead.
Saeed shoves him.
And
she just starts like throwing, like trying to slap me.
And
at that moment, that's when I pushed her over and I told her, do not put your hands on me.
Just a second. So you pushed her over?
Yes, to defend myself.
You pushed her over. All right, so this is your problem, sir. You said nothing happened that night. You said in your answer nothing happened that night.
I have a copy of the police report that I reported.
I'm going to look at it in a second. Now, you say here, I never assaulted Cecilia. We have plenty of arguments during the relationship, but I've never assaulted her. She has a tendency to blow things out of proportion. I have never put my hands on a woman in my life. Well, that's not true. You just told me you did.
As self-defense.
You didn't say that here. You said, I've never put my hands on a woman in my life.
Would that be considered assault in self-defense?
No. That's not what you said. Okay, now I'll see the police report.
Cecilia hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Okay, so what you did is you came home after you were drinking for the night. That's what you told the police, that you had a night of drinking and you had a fight. He wanted to know where you were. She said the argument became physical. The defendant here grabbed her and pinned her onto the bed while he laid on top of her, holding her arms down. Proceeded to take his right hand and bruised and cut her lips. She was dizzy but did not lose consciousness. It was not because of the alcohol she had previously consumed. Cecilia said she eventually left the room and went to sleep. Just a second. So after this incident, when he allegedly hit you, causing this injury to your lip, you went back to living with him?
Yes.
Yeah? I'm reading this thing, and I said, well, she said she was assaulted. She left. She went home, and she went to live with her parents. But you didn't. You went back to sleep, and then you stayed with him because this incident, the one that you just described to me, happened on September 10th, and you went to the police on October 24th.
Yeah.
Then there was an incident on October 19th. She said you had another argument, but he did not strike her because she threatened to leave if he did. Instead, he punched holes in the apartment. She decided to leave after that and no longer is living with him. Okay, now, later on in the month, after the 19th, because now I am not considering what happened on September 10th, because you went back to live with him. Between September 10th and October 19th, did you share a bed? That's a question.
Yes.
Every day?
No.
4 days a week?
No.
5 days a week? You were living together until the 19th of October.
Yes.
Where did you live?
Well, we had couches as well as a bed, so we weren't always sleeping together.
That's not
true. You know, I don't believe you. Okay, good. So I'm not even considering the 10th of September. Later on, there was an incident where he says You assaulted him. You came to his house where he was living now. You were living at your parents' house, right?
Yes.
And you came to the house. What date was that?
It was like 2 or 3 days after the breakup.
Was the breakup in October?
Yes, Your Honor. It was October 12th.
October 12th. Got it. You tell me what happened on October 12th. Did you go to his house?
I can't remember.
She was living with me.
She was living with you?
Until that day, October 12th.
I moved out October 31st. I was still living with him on that incident that happened on October 12th. We broke up, and that's when he punched the... I have pictures right here when he punched.
I heard punching the hole in the
Yes.
wall. I'm not interested. He still lives there. He's going to have to fix the hole in the wall.
No, I'm saying that's why we broke up, because I told him if he put his hands on me, then... But he punched the TV
Now we're
instead.
talking about his allegation that you assaulted him.
I did not touch him.
That is false.
That's your counterclaim that you have. Then I have to figure out what to do with these dogs.
So I have pictures and I have messages where...
I want to know when it happened and where.
Let me show you.
No, I want you to tell me. When did it happen and where?
It was a day or two after I left, which might have been October 14th or 15th. And she was upset because I had already picked up Fatty because she asked me to. She texted me, I want my stuff back. I want the dog back. And I told her, I was like, no, if you already filed the lawsuit against me, let's just go about it the legal way. I told her, do not show up at my house, which I clearly have messages where I state not to show up. And in those messages, she threatens to murder me, find me and kill me. At that moment, I told her, if you do not leave, I will call the cops. And in that second, she lashed out, grabbed my neck, and scratched my whole neck and my shoulder. And that's...
What date was that?
So October 14th or 15th.
And then you went to the police on October 24th for the first time.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can I see your photographs, please?
Saeed hands a photo to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it. It depicts multiple lacerations in Saeed's neck.
Did you report this to the police?
I called the police in the incident. That's why she attacked me.
Just a second. Did the police respond?
The police did respond. They did not want to take a report.
Kevin, would you show this to the plaintiff, please?
Kevin brings the photo to Cecilia, who reviews it.
He pulled a gun out on me, and that's why I brought her as my witness, because she was there and saw everything that happened that night.
Caption coming up.
There are several reasons why you get these nonsense online doctors that will attest to the fact that you need a therapy dog in order to survive. What was the reason? I'm really smart.
I know. It was so we didn't have to pay the pet deposit when we got the apartment.
So it was a fraud.
Cecilia rolls her eyes. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Cecilia and Saeed.
Cecilia Morrow claims her ex-boyfriend, Saeed Rodriguez, owes for an assault and personal property. Saeed is countersuing for the return of 2 corgis and says he was the one assaulted.
Now, did he pull a gun out before this happened? I want you to explain exactly how it happened.
The reason I went to his house is because I noticed on my credit card that he spent $600 on a PS5. He's 22, by the way.
What is a PS5?
A console for gaming with those kids play Fortnite, yeah.
Okay, so he spent money from your credit card?
Yes.
Okay, had you contacted him about it?
Yes,
Well, you
I
went?
have, yes.
Okay.
And he took my dog as well, and she is my ESA animal. I can't be separated from her.
That's not true.
She is my ESA animal.
She's what?
My ESA animal, emotional support animal. It's registered with the government. Do you want to see the...
I'm not interested.
Okay.
Do you work?
Yes, I do. I'm a realtor as well as a financial advisor.
Do you see a therapist regularly?
I need to.
Yep, that's not what I asked you. Do you see a therapist regularly?
No.
Who did you get to write the letter for you that indicated that this corgi that you left behind is an emotional support animal? That's a question. Madam, look at me. It had to be a doctor, correct?
Yes, it is.
It had to be a doctor.
Yes.
What's the name of the doctor?
I have
No. The answer is you don't know offhand the name of the doctor. Is that right?
Yes.
Does the doctor live in the area where you live?
No.
How many times did you personally visit this doctor?
Not once. It was registered through online.
The answer is never.
Yeah.
So you're trying to tell me that I should look at a certificate that some doctor gave you online that you needed a support animal when you are not in any psychiatric care and haven't been The doctor never examined you, but for a fee, pay attention, for a fee, wrote you a letter so that you could make this an emotional support dog. Now I want you to tell me in what month?
May. And I have the registration if you want to take a look at it.
I don't want to take a look at it at all. It's nonsense. You know it's nonsense, and I know it's nonsense. Now, there are several reasons why you get these nonsense online from close the cover before you strike doctors that will attest to the fact that you need a therapy dog in order to survive. There are several reasons for it. You want to take it to work?
No.
What was the reason? There has to be a reason.
Yeah.
I'm really smart.
I know.
Really smart.
It was so we didn't have to pay the pet deposit, so when we got the apartment.
There you go. So it was a fraud.
No, but
Just a second. So it was a fraud. So you committed a fraud, so you didn't have to pay a pet deposit for your animals. When I asked you, you want to read me back the answer when I asked her, do you see a psychiatrist? And she said, no, but I need one. And you knew you needed one in May when you had to pay the pet deposit.
No, I need
You
two.
two people are really cute. Is that what she said?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Rodriguez, the plaintiff owns the dog. She owns the dog. She paid for the dog. It's registered in her name. The fact that you were a good caretaker, I can't help you with that. The dog looks as if it's in pretty good shape. Believe me, if the dog didn't look as if it was in pretty good shape, somehow I would find a way. But right now, the dog looks as if it's in pretty good shape. I'm directing the plaintiff, however, that in the event that she has to remove the dogs from her parents' house where she's living, that she's precluded from selling them or giving them away until she gives you an opportunity to take them. I'm also directing you, because I assume you live with your parents, and I assume your father's going to be watching this, or I would tell him when I got home that the judge called you a moron.
I will.
You can tell him that.
I will.
And I suggest to you that if you want to own a pet, I've had pets all my life, you have to protect your pet from morons.
Yes.
Whether they be little children who are morons or adults who have nothing better to do than to make TikTok videos using somebody else as a fall person. Frightening. As far as the assaults are concerned, I find that you both assaulted each other on 2 different days. There's no question in my mind that you assaulted him, and there's no question in my mind that as a result of her pushing you, and you have a temper because I know that you broke some of the things in your apartment, that you did, in fact, do something in her mouth. It didn't remove her teeth, but clearly, whatever you did to her face caused her lip to hit her tooth, which caused it to have a bruise on it. Anything else that I have to consider?
Yes, all the furniture that I left at the apartment.
Did you have a moving company come and move stuff for you? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
I read the papers. You
Yes.
did. On what date did you have a moving company come?
It was November 1st.
When you hired the moving company, did you give them a list of things to move?
Yes.
And did they move the list of the things that you gave them to move?
Yes.
Correct? And they moved them?
Yes.
So that part of your case is dismissed. It's over. She's keeping the dogs. And we're done here. Case is dismissed.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Cecilia then Saeed.
That's what happens when you get in narcissistic relationships. People manipulate you. I was with him since I was 15. I'm 19 now.
Honestly, I was pretty upset with the outcome of the dogs.
I haven't talked to him in months. This is the first time I've seen him in forever.
She kept coming back. I mean,
I don't like him. I don't want him ever.
done means done, man.
What's done is done.
Sarah and Judy.
I was so surprised when I found out that she was only 19. Not a real stable place in your life to be getting a dog, and let alone 2, when you're not settled. You know, I think that's so unfair for dog owners when they're not settled. And, you know, it's just unfortunate.
There's an immaturity.
Yeah.
I think what you're saying to me is there's an immaturity. Problem is when you're immature, you don't realize that it's a mistake because an immature person is making a mature judgment. What I actually found, I mean, it was stupid. It wasn't as if it did something horrendous to the dog, but frightened the dog by throwing this square of cheese at its eye.
Well, I've seen the trend, and it actually did start on babies, throwing slices of cheese on babies' heads in high chairs.
What is happening to the world?
Yeah.
What's happening
Too
if
much
somebody
time on
thinks
their
that
hands.
that's funny to startle a baby or to startle a creature in order to make somebody else laugh?
Yeah.
You know,
the world we live in today.
If morons want to do that, let them stick a broomstick someplace and take a TikTok picture of it on themselves.
Yeah.
On themselves.
I'm with
Why
you.
choose some other living creature? I don't understand that.
Jessica Schleicher is suing her ex-boyfriend, Sam Branch, for unpaid rent and the costs of an eviction.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Hello, Judge.
Hello, Kevin.
Case 3106, Shackler versus Branch.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Schleicher.
Schleicher.
Okay. You and the defendant lived together for 25 years. Reason that you never married?
No.
Any reason?
Waiting for financial things to come together. And
that was quite a wait.
Yeah.
In any event, this 25-year relationship ended badly, and it is your claim that the defendant stayed in an apartment that you had lived in together. I believe your name was the only name on the lease, but you lived there as a couple together. For how many years?
I lived there since I was 6 years old. My parents were actually the ones on the lease, and when my father passed away in 2007, we moved back in. We were out in our own apartment, moved in, took over the rent.
Because the rent was more reasonable and the apartment probably
Definitely.
better.
Yeah.
Okay. And the breakup was an acrimonious one, and it is your claim that the defendant stayed in the apartment with one of your children,
yes, my son.
and that he didn't pay rent in the apartment for several months, and because your name is on the lease, the landlord brought a case against you for the unpaid rent.
Correct.
That's primarily what you're suing for.
Primarily.
Because the other part, he's not responsible for. The part where you had to go find, and you went and found the more expensive apartment, well, one of you was going to find the more expensive apartment. Is this a rent-controlled or stabilized?
Yeah, the place that I was in, I was still grandfathered in at 2000.
Yeah, so it was a rent-stabilized, grandfathered, and you were there together, not you.
No.
The two of you for 25 years.
No, I was there with my family. He moved in with his son in 2007, but I was there with my brother and my parents since I was
just
little.
a second. I thought you were together for 25 years.
We were, but I was in that condo for 39 years, since I was 6.
How long did the two of you live together?
Since 2007, for 16 years.
But you were in a relationship before that, so you lived together in that apartment for 16 years.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me the day that you moved out of the apartment when you had this argument.
May 30th was the first day that I left, and I stayed at my mom's house and in my car, and then went ahead and moved out and got my own place July 1st. So July 1st is when I removed all my belongings.
Had you stayed there at all in the month of June?
No.
Is that correct?
I think there might have been a week in June.
Well, if you think that she says no, she says no, and what you may be, she wasn't there. Your son was there?
Yes, he was.
All of June, you were there?
Yes, I was.
So you were there June. What about July? Were you there in July?
Yes, I was.
What about August?
Yes, I was.
What about September?
Yes, I was.
October?
Yes, I was.
When did you move out?
I moved out in December.
December what?
I believe it was around the 15th.
So you were there the month of December, because you don't do half months. You were there the month of December. When was the last month that you paid rent?
I was paid up until September 1st, so it was August.
So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 months rent that you didn't pay.
Right.
Why?
Well, when Jessica moved out, the property management came to me with 3 weeks to go in the month, saying that they were going to raise the rent $750.
Because you're no longer grandfathered in under her parents or grandparents or whoever lived there. So they were going to raise your rent $750.
Yes.
And they were going to raise it starting what date?
September 1st.
So you said, I'm not paying the increase.
No, that's not correct.
So you just didn't pay anything?
No.
Well, that's what I said. When was the last time you paid rent? You said September 1st. So I'm just curious. If he was going to raise your rent by $750, was going to make it $2,750, and you said, I'm not going to pay the increase.
No, I agreed to pay the increase. We filled out a new application.
Okay, great. So when did you start paying the increase?
We didn't pay the increase.
Okay, so you didn't pay rent, and I'm asking you why.
I had a heart attack.
You had a heart attack on what date?
August 20th.
When did you sign the new lease?
We didn't sign the new lease. We filled out an application. Yeah.
Okay. After your heart attack, on what date did you go back to work?
It was...
Careful, because it's very easy to verify.
3 weeks after.
So you went back to work sometime in September?
Yes.
And you didn't pay October, November, and December.
No.
Why?
Here's what the reason I did it. We filled out an application for a new lease. We agreed to pay the new rent. After this, he comes to me and says, now we need another $3,000 for a security deposit. In all this time, I have 3 weeks to come up with all this extra money on top of the regular rent. I couldn't afford it.
Okay, and then they evicted you, I assume.
They didn't evict me.
You just left.
My name isn't on the eviction.
Shh. Are you still in the apartment?
No.
So you left?
Yes.
In December, on December 15th. That's what you told me a moment ago.
Yes.
But you didn't pay any rent. October, November, and December. Any.
Yep.
Well, there's no excuse for that. You're living in an apartment, you're not paying rent. It's not reasonable for her to pay rent in her apartment, where she's now living, and your apartment. You find that reasonable?
No, I didn't think it was reasonable the way I wasn't given reasonable time to come up with the money.
Neither was she. You had a fight.
She chose to leave.
She chose to leave because it wasn't working anymore.
Right.
So you have two choices. Either you leave or she leaves. Without getting into all the bad stuff of what happened, which I don't think is absolutely necessary, this is just a question of morality and justice. So you each had your own obligations. She had to move and find a new place to live that was going to be more expensive than where you are. I assume she paid rent. You chose not to pay rent. How is that fair? How is that balanced, sir?
She didn't pay no rent.
No. She's going to show me proof that she was on the lease during that period of time. The landlord is going after her for the rent money. She's going to show that to me.
Jessica nods. Caption coming up.
I'm the one that had to call the cops, and I have police reports. He's the one that was abusive.
There was no physicalness between the two of you.
There was yelling, spitting, throwing things, and just anything but putting physical hands on me.
And later today.
I'm asking you a question that this electrical wonking was her fault.
On her DUI, she was ordered to install an ignition interlock device. In that, you have to cut the wiring.
Unless you're a car mechanic, you're not going to testify as to what they have to do when they install a piece of equipment.
A woman averts her eyes. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jessica and Sam.
Jessica Schleicher is suing her ex-boyfriend, Sam Branch, for unpaid rent and the costs of an eviction.
Now, I'm going to ask you the question again. Does that sound fair and reasonable to you?
No, it didn't sound fair and reasonable that I wasn't given a suitable amount of time to come up with $5,000.
That's between you and the landlord. What does that have to do with her?
That don't have nothing to do with her.
But
I'm not on the lease.
Can I see the notice that you got from the landlord?
Yes,
Jessica hands a document to Kevin.
there's the eviction against me with all the documents you need.
He brings it to Judy, who reviews it.
This is not a signed judgment.
That's not the judgment?
It's not signed.
I think that's the copy the lawyer gave me.
Kevin returns the document.
So yeah, I might not have the signed copy with me.
Well, you're supposed to bring a signed copy with you. Okay. There's no question the rent was due. There's no question that the eviction proceedings were for money, so that whatever monies are transferred will be transferred to the owner of the condo, because that's to whom it is owed, correct?
The property management company, yes, ma'am.
Okay. The second part of your lawsuit is that damages resulting from eviction and abuse. What is that about?
It was the difference of the rent from the condo to the new place because I was forced out.
Okay.
With police and everything else. I was out a lot of money.
That's not his problem. Somebody was going to be forced out of this apartment, either you or him.
But I'm the one that had to call the cops, and I have police reports, and he's the one that was abusive. I had no other choice but to leave my family's home.
Well, it was your family home. You lived like a family for 16 years. You weren't hospitalized as a result of this incident, correct?
No, ma'am.
You didn't see a doctor as a result of this incident, correct?
No.
You don't have any photographs to show me as a result of any injuries, correct?
No physical injuries, ma'am.
What you are complaining of is that he would talk to you incessantly, wouldn't let you sleep, right? I read it.
There was a lot more than that, ma'am.
There was no physicalness between the two of you that I read here.
There was yelling, spitting, throwing things, and picking up the bed that I was sitting on and slamming it down, and just anything but putting physical hands on me to avoid the police.
Well, he's not paying for your new apartment, and you're not going to pay for his new apartment. Anyway, the resolution of this case is easy: $6,063, and the check will be made payable to property management. Okay, thank you very much. We're done.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Sam, then Jessica.
I don't call it living for free, you know. If you're gonna treat me like I'm a tenant, then you gotta treat me like a tenant. You gotta give me a 30-day notice.
I do feel Sam owed me some money for everything that I had to spend leaving the place.
You gotta give me all the stuff that comes along with being a tenant, instead of just skipping away.
I wouldn't have had to leave if it wasn't for his abuse, so.
Better to part ways.
Time to take care of me.
Sarah and Judy.
You were right when you said you lived together for 16 years. She kept referencing it as her family home, which I understand the history, and she lived there since she was a child. But when you live there with your partner for 16 years, that becomes your shared family home. Like you said, someone was going to have to leave, and someone was going to have to pay more rent. So, you know, at the end of the day, someone was going to have to leave.
Right. And the landlord, the person who is supposed to get the money, will get the money because they're the people who are out the rent.
Yeah.
And he had an obligation to pay rent. He just knew he wasn't responsible for it legally, and they couldn't go after him for it, so he just didn't pay it. No, can't do that. It's not right.
Case number 3107, Murphy versus Beard. All parties, please come forward.
Jennifer Murphy is suing her car renter, Lindsay Beard, for missed payments and damage to her vehicle.
Miss Murphy, several years ago, you were planning to go out of the country. When were you planning to go out of the country?
December 2018.
And you had a car at the time, a car that you were making payments on?
Yes.
That had a loan on it?
Yes.
And what were the loan payments every month?
There were $375.68.
And what year car was it?
It's a 2013.
So it's 11 years old now. And in 2018, you made an arrangement with the defendant, who you knew how?
My sister's client.
She needed a car. You were introduced. You made an arrangement with her in 2018 to rent your car that you both acknowledge for $375.68 a month?
$374.68, and it was in 2020.
It was in 2020?
Yeah, the date was January 5th, 2020.
Is that the date you made the arrangement?
Yes.
And is there a contract for the
There
lease
is,
of this
right
car?
here.
I'd like to take a look at it, please.
Here you go. Oh, sorry.
Lindsay hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Okay, so let's read the terms of this agreement. First one is payment of $374.68 via Zelle. Now, with regard to that provision of the lease agreement, you returned the car on what date?
I picked it up on October 24th.
2023. So she had the car 2.5 years.
More like 3.5 years.
And in those 3.5 years, you were out of the country.
Yes.
Part of your claim here is that she failed to make several payments. She says she has all the payments. Have you gone over the payments with each other so that you can check your accounts?
No, I mean, I have my printed Zelle from my bank, and she has a spreadsheet that she was filling out each month that she received a payment.
You have that?
I do, yes.
Yes, and you acknowledge that?
That I had sent her the spreadsheet each month. I also have the emails of the Zelle payments, and I am missing the 8 payments from her, so I'm curious. She never explained that.
I'm not curious. You're going to go outside with my clerk, and you're going to go through these. You don't expect me to go through 3.5 years of car payments, do you? Now, if you don't want to waste my time, we can acknowledge that they were either paid or we can move on to the next action. What's your pleasure?
I don't believe they were paid.
Okay. Sarah, go deal with them. Math is not my strong suit, and this kind of nonsense is not worth my time. Go figure out if there were any missed payments that they can prove, will you please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Judy leaves. Caption coming up.
She is correct that you had to have a machine installed.
I had to have the interlock, yes.
Okay, that if you breathe into something, if your breath smelled from alcohol, the engine wouldn't start.
Yes.
How long was that in the car?
After getting arrested. So about a month later after me getting the car, I had to have the installation put in.
Jennifer rolls her eyes. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jennifer and Lindsay.
Jennifer Murphy claims defendant Lindsay Beard rented her car for years and damaged the vehicle.
Sarah?
Okay, so there was a total of 11 missed payments that the defendant had no proof that she had paid. However, there were months that the plaintiff admitted where she paid more or double to make up for missing months, which she credited in the spreadsheet that I looked at. So there were a total of 8 missed payments, not including those, makeup payments that she had made.
Did you total that?
I did, totaling to $2,997.44.
Thank you. Okay, and I'm reading the lease, so that was the first thing. So on that, you owe $29.97. Lessee will not drive more than 2,000 miles per month. There's no problem indicated in your petition about that, so that she's complied with the terms of this lease. Will keep up with all regular maintenance of the vehicle. You have any proof that she didn't do that?
Well, beside my car, when I got it back, it was not in very good condition.
You left it 3.5 years. The car's 11 years old. She had to have changed the oil periodically if she had it 3.5 years. The fact that your car is now older and it was driven by somebody else 3.5 years, there's a certain amount of wear and tear on a car and things break down. Unless you have a mechanic who's going to tell me that you did something to the car, which are you a mechanic?
No.
No.
I also have all the records of me going and doing that.
Not necessary. It's her burden of proof.
Absolutely.
It's good that you have the paperwork as a defense that you took care of the car. Will carry full insurance coverage. Did you do that? There's no allegation that you did not. Will not allow other persons to drive the car. There's not an allegation in here that she did and let other people use the car. Violation of this cause for immediate termination, and that's it. So far, I have $2,997. Now, she returned the car because she came back to the country. Okay, on what date did she return the car?
I picked it up on October 24th, 2023.
And where did you go with the car?
Immediately, I went back to my
house. To your residence?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Did you take the car out again on October 24th?
No.
When was the next time you took it someplace?
On October 26th, I took it to the dealership.
Why?
To have it inspected.
Just a second.
Okay.
My question is, why did you take it to the dealership? Because if you drove it home and there was something wrong with it, you would have taken it immediately to the dealership if you found something wrong with it. You didn't take it to the dealership the 24th. You didn't take it to the dealership on the 25th. Why did you take it on the 26th? Just to check it out?
No, I did notice things immediately wrong with it.
What?
For one, the AC wasn't working, the car wasn't locking.
What does that mean, car wasn't locking?
When I used the fob, it wouldn't lock, it was doing nothing.
It was doing nothing, but you were driving with it. It was just that electrical thing that wouldn't open and close. Did you put a new battery in the fob?
No.
Oh, no. That's the first thing I do. When it doesn't open, it doesn't close, these things go, you take it in, costs $5, you put in a new battery and you close it and then it locks. It's not as if the car didn't work. Okay, what else?
The door sensors weren't working as well.
I don't know what that means, the door sensors.
It looks like my car door is always open on the electrical component. So there's just a lot of weird electrical things going on with it.
You have any proof to demonstrate to me that she caused any of this problem?
So I found out she had a DUI while she was using my car, and she lied to my sister about it, telling her that I knew about it, that she had told me about it, but I had no idea.
But you didn't keep it a secret. She told your sister.
She did tell my sister.
And that's how you met her?
Yes.
So if she told your sister, she wasn't keeping it a secret from you?
Well, she didn't tell me either.
I don't care, but she wasn't keeping it a secret. She told the person who actually brought the deal together.
Well, she lied to my sister also.
Just a second.
Okay.
I'm asking you a question. Proof that this electrical wonking was her fault.
Well, I had seen in the court documents on her DUI that she was ordered to install an IID, an ignition interlock device, which she did on my vehicle, had it installed and uninstalled. And in that, you have to cut the wiring to...
I don't know if you have to... What kind of work do you do?
I'm a yoga instructor.
Well, unless you're a car mechanic, you're not going to testify as to what they have to do when they install a piece of equipment. By the way, just tell me what month and year you had a DUI.
It was February or March of 2020.
But you had the car for 3 years after that.
I did, yes.
Listen to me. 3 years after that. And she is correct that you had to have a machine installed.
I had to have the interlock, yes.
Okay, that if you breathe into something, if your breath smelled from alcohol, the engine wouldn't start.
Yes, it's connected to the battery.
Okay, and you did have that installed. How long was that in the car?
Almost the entire time I had the car.
After
getting arrested. So about a month later after me getting the car, I had to have the installation put in.
Okay, and when did you have it taken out?
Actually, 3 or 4 days before she picked the car up.
Okay, and who took it out for you?
The same company that put it in.
Okay, fine. I'm just telling you that, Miss Murphy, because if you think that you can prove a case of negligence against a company, it's not her. She neither put it in or took it out. Got it? She owes you $2,997, and she owes you that for the missed payments that she can't prove she made, that you say on your spreadsheet she missed, and that Sarah confirmed. Anything else? No, good. Thank you very much. We're finished here.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Jennifer and her sister, then Lindsay.
Currently, my car's dead. It's not operating because of the electrical damage.
There is no damage to the car.
I do think it's the wiring, and I know it hooks up to the starter because we've been researching it. She's saying the battery, but it's the starter. And it did render it inoperable.
I mean, I watched the guy do it. They go in through the panel, they connect it to the battery, and it's done in 30 minutes.
My car is my car. No one's gonna be borrowing it.
I'm just glad it's done.
Sarah and Judy.
Really trying to keep me on my toes there. I know math is not your strong suit, but you also passed that gene down to me, so I find it interesting that you just farm out all the math skills over here.
Well, first of all, you're the clerk. I'm the judge.
Yeah, I don't mind doing it. I'll do it all day long, all day long.
And you figured it out.
I did. No,
it would have probably taken me a lot longer.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, you don't have it here, you don't have it.
Raphael Bainan is suing his former employee, Eric Myers, for the cost of a pickup truck, a gun, and a leather holster.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 3044, Bainan versus Myers.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Bainan, you have a drywall business?
Yes, Northside Drywall. I have been in business 30 years.
The defendant worked for you for a period of time. You can tell me about that. And it is your claim that during that period of time, you sold him a truck and he did not finish paying for it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Myers says that he paid you $800 for the truck, that there was never a fixed price that you came up with for the truck, and that shortly after he had possession of the truck, it died and it's no longer drivable. What did you do, junk it?
We did not junk it, but it is out on her property at the moment.
So you have it?
Not in my possession, but yes, we still have it.
Yeah, we still have it. So, Mr. Myers, I'm going to start with you. When did you start to work for the plaintiff?
I believe it was around June or July of 2022.
And you were homeless at the time?
At that point, yes.
You moved on to the plaintiff's property with his permission?
Yes.
In a trailer or a camper or what?
And we were actually in a big ice shack.
An ice shed?
Yeah,
Who's we?
Me and my witness.
Is that your girlfriend?
No.
Who is it?
She is my ex-girlfriend.
She was your girlfriend. You were living together in the ice shed?
Yes.
Was it his ice shed?
Yes, it was.
You had a car?
She owned a car at that time when we met. A couple months after we met, she ended up crashing it, and we were left vehicleless. And at the time, I was working for him, so we worked out a deal to get the truck off the property to let me use while I worked for him to help us get around.
Okay. And what was the arrangement that you made at the time that you purchased the truck from him, that you made the deal with him for the purchase of the truck? The truck was not running. It was being used as a storage facility by the plaintiff.
Yes.
Did you spend any money to get it running?
I did spend about $100, I do believe.
Okay. Now, when you agreed to purchase the truck from him, were you over the phone, in person?
It was in person.
Okay. I'd like to see what you have, Mr. Bainan, of the amount that you contracted for with the defendant for the purchase of this truck. And Sarah, would you take a look for me to see a range?
Sure, I have that pulled up.
Okay, great. Hold on one second. Okay, let me just see what you have.
Okay. I have a contract, but it was sitting on the office table, and he refused to sign it, so.
This is not a contract. He didn't sign this.
No, he refused to sign it. It was sitting on the office table.
Well, he didn't sign it then. They didn't sign it for a reason.
Push it to the side, so.
Okay, then it's not a contract, sir.
Well, no.
No. Okay, you have any other proof with you that he agreed to pay $2,200 for the truck. Where did you get the truck, by the way?
Actually comes from Georgia. Oh, I bought the truck probably 7 years earlier. I had it for quite some time.
And who did you purchase it from?
A private party.
Was it registered?
Yes, I registered it as soon as I purchased it.
Was it registered when you sold it to him?
Yes.
And it was a current registration?
Well, when I signed the title over, then he went and put it in his name.
Do you have the title to the truck?
Yeah.
I'd like to take a look at it. Mr. Myers?
A document.
Let's see, registration and the title.
I'd like you to tell me, you sound like a pretty intelligent guy. How much did you purchase the truck for?
We wrote $100, but...
No. How much did you purchase? She's looked up the value, which she's going to tell me in a moment, both private party, trade-in, etc. You paid $800 towards this truck.
Over time, yes.
Is that right?
I disagree with that.
How much did he pay?
I've only received one payment of $100.
Well, then he's going to show me the rest. Is that money that you took out of his pay?
Yes.
You have any other proof that you paid him any other money?
I do not have paper proof.
Well, that's unfortunate. But let's take for a moment, Mr. Myers, that you did pay him more than the $100 that he took out of your pay, and then you quit, then you left. What did you believe the purchase price was, sir? Don't look there.
Okay.
You don't look like a stupid person. You're buying a truck. You say you paid $800 over time. Let's say I believe you. You don't look like a stupid man who would pay $800 if you didn't know how much the total purchase price was. So you tell me how much you believed the total purchase price was. Now you're looking over there. You see how you were looking over here? Now you're looking over.
Original purchase price. All that happened is he was going to give us the truck, us put it in my name, so we can drive it and then figure out a price later. After we fixed it and figured out how much it's going to cost to fix the problems on it and to see the shape that it's...
Well, you said that it cost you $100 to get it up and running. That's what you said it cost you. How much was the truck, sir?
Over 2 months, he took money out of paychecks that I worked for him.
Well, show me that, because he says he only took out one payment of $100 and then you quit.
No, that's not true.
You have proof of how much you took out of his pay?
I have a calendar of the weeks he worked and how much I paid him.
Okay, I'd like to take a look at that.
Okay.
Maybe it'll be informative to me. Sarah, what's the range for this truck?
So I adjusted it based on the fact that it wasn't running, so I put it fair condition as opposed to good, and the 250,000 miles based on the complaint. To trade it in, which is to a more official dealership, $212 to around $1,000, and a private party, the ranges are different, ranges from $1,100 to $2,500.
Got it.
Kevin collects documents from Raphael, then brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
Wow. When you prepared this calendar, sir, all this calendar was prepared just recently because it's all in the same handwriting. Who wrote this calendar?
This is my daughter. She's my secretary.
Who wrote this calendar? All right. This is nonsense. She just wrote this today. Yesterday, the day before yesterday. It wasn't written. You can only introduce a paper document if the notations are made under the law contemporaneously with the event. That means at the same time as the event. This was all written by the same person at the same time with the same pen in different months. So this was all done in preparation for this case. So it's hearsay, inadmissible.
Caption, coming up.
Where did you get the purchase price of $2,200? At most, it's worth $1,000.
Well, it's Cali Blue Book, and it was rust-free.
But not rust-free, it wasn't running.
And later today.
I got a yes from my cousin, so then I started on the remodel in December.
You can't do that, Mr. Brzezinski. Sue your cousin. Your cousin authorized you to do work in the bathroom. He never authorized you to do anything.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Raphael and Eric.
Raphael Bainan claims his former employee, Eric Myers, owes for the cost of a pickup truck, a gun, and a leather holster.
Now, you have any other proof that he paid you only $100?
No.
No. Okay. And where did you get the purchase price of $2,200 for a truck that wasn't running At most, it's worth $1,000. Where did you get a figure of $2,200 from?
Well, it's Kelly Blue Book. We looked at that, and like I say, the truck is from Georgia. There was no rust. It was rust-free, which
But
you don't
not rust-free. It wasn't running. You were using it according to you as storage, because the other part of your complaint is for a handgun that you say was in the truck that you never got back. You have the truck now?
I have it, yes, but it's on her property.
You have it.
Judy reviews a photo of a handgun.
What are you showing me? You're showing me a picture of a gun that you had.
Well, it went missing, and nobody else took it. He was the only one who had access to where the gun was stored, so.
Well, that's not true. He was out shooting with somebody with a gun, according to you. Who was he shooting with?
That I do not know, Your Honor.
Who were you shooting the gun with?
I was shooting it with Matthew.
Is that right, Matthew?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. So Matthew had access to the gun. Who's Matthew?
Matthew's my foreman. He's been with me 15 years, so.
Yeah, okay. Matthew.
Judy gestures to Matthew, who rises.
After you were shooting the gun with the defendant, what did you do with it?
I left before he was done shooting, and last I seen it was in one of the sheds.
In a shed?
Yeah.
Okay, you're his foreman.
Yes.
Foremen usually have people that work for them?
Yep.
Yep is not an answer. Yes is an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
How many people work under you?
Right now, just 2.
2 in addition to yourself?
Yes.
Do they come on this property?
Yeah.
Yes.
They just started working in the last 6 months.
At the time that he was there, how many people worked?
It was just me and Eric.
Matthew sits.
You paid him $800 for the truck because you thought that it was worth $800?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe you paid him $800 over time, because if you did, then you would have proof of it. But you can't take his property and retain his property and not pay for it. I don't believe that you had a fixed price of $2,200, which is why you refused to sign this contract. But I certainly believe that you owe him money for the truck. Yes. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. You know where the gun is?
No, absolutely not.
Where did you put it when you finished shooting it?
Where he said we walked it, there's 6 guns that all went into the garage, and they sat there for days.
Okay. That's it. $800. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Eric, then Raphael.
I do understand her verdict with it.
The settlement is done, so there's nothing I can do about it.
I just don't think he really kept track of what he was actually taking out of my pay, and, you know, it kind of showed in the case.
He felt like I was taking money out, but I was not.
Always keep better records, that's for sure.
I'm unhappy, but there's nothing I can do about it.
Sarah and Judy.
Purchase price is sort of the material part of a contract. That and a signature would have been nice. Any of these things. I know the plaintiff feels like he had a contract, but in reality, if you have a piece of paper that's not signed, you have a piece of paper, not a contract. Yeah. And, you know, if you can't decide on purchase price before, that's probably a good indicator that you shouldn't be entering into whatever agreement.
Turned over title to him. Mm-hmm. And he still has the truck, and it's still running. He's got to pay something for it.
Yeah, I agree.
I cannot imagine living in an ice shed shack. What was it?
I think he said ice shack, but I think you said ice shed. It all blurs together.
In
Wisconsin, I think, is where.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, middle of winter.
That's chilly there.
Yeah.
Case 3047, Blake versus Brzezinski. All parties, please step forward.
Edwin Blake is suing business owner Kyle Brzezinski for property damage and filing a false lien on his property.
Mr. Blake, you are a landlord and you have several rental units. One of the units that you have has been occupied by Mr. Brzezinski's cousin for the last 10 years. And she's been a reasonable paying tenant. We've had no difficulty. Is she still your tenant?
She is.
And Mr. Brzezinski, who is her cousin, never lived in that unit.
Correct.
How many rental units do you have altogether, sir?
At this time, I have 5.
Are they all in the same building?
No, they're individual houses, and I have one that's in Florida, condo that I rent as well, so that's one of the 5.
So Mr. Brzezinski's cousin lives in one of your houses?
Correct.
This is what your lawsuit is about, sir. It is your claim that Mr. Brzezinski, without your authority, did renovations in that house in a bathroom. And when he asked you for payment for the renovation, you said, I never authorized the renovation. I'm not paying you for renovation that I never authorized. He put a lien on your house. And when did he put the lien on the house?
It would have been February when he executed the
February of
23. Correct.
And when was the work done on the house?
In December.
Of 22.
22, correct.
Mr. Brzezinski says that you did, in fact, authorize the work, that he had an absolute right to put a lien on your property. He's got a counterclaim for $10,000 for the work that he did. Okay, so Mr. Brzezinski, actually the ball is in your court.
Okay.
When for the first time did you meet Mr. Blake?
I've never met Mr. Blake.
Okay, so this is the first time.
This is the first time.
And what kind of business are you in?
I am in construction and general maintenance.
Who do you work for?
Myself.
In what state?
Wisconsin.
Are you a licensed contractor?
Yes, I am.
What's the name of your company?
K&K Pristine Exteriors.
Could you check that for me, please? Sure. And how long have you been in business?
2 to 3 years.
What did you do before that?
I've done all sorts of construction beforehand. Glass and glazing was the most recent one.
So you've never met Mr. Blake, so any conversations you had with him were either over the phone or via texts or emails?
Everything was through his maintenance guy, Mike Bennon, who is his witness.
Ma'am, he's not my maintenance guy.
Just a second.
Okay.
So you've never personally had a conversation with the plaintiff?
That is correct.
That's a big problem for you, sir. Now, you've been in the construction business. You have a company. Sarah's looking up the company. I assume you have a website. Is that right?
Yes.
The area of the house that you worked on was the bathroom for your cousin. I want you to tell me when for the first time you saw your cousin's bathroom.
Probably about 9 years ago, right after she started
Just a second.
renting.
And more recently?
More recently would be August.
I want to know how it came about, Mr. Brzezinski, that you saw the bathroom. Did your cousin call you? Were you over there for a visit? I want to know how it came about, since you had no contact with him.
Well, her and Mike had called me about how the bathroom was in such poor condition.
Who's Mike?
Mike Bennon is his witness sitting right there, which would also be my cousin's boyfriend.
Oh, just... oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just a second. So this man, you say, is your cousin's boyfriend.
Yes.
And either she or he called you to come and look at the bathroom.
That is correct.
Okay. Was he living there at the time?
No, he just stays there every so often.
How long have you known him?
I have known him once she introduced me, which would be a month or two before, in August.
In August?
Yes, that's when the first conversation about this renovation being done took place.
Okay, so
August 19th.
Just a second. So this is the boyfriend,
Yes.
according to what you know,
Yes.
of your cousin,
That's
who you
correct.
know is a renter.
Yes.
Okay, and then what happened, sir?
They
I
had-
want to know how it came about that you did the renovation, since you had no conversation with him at all personally, and you met him only for the first time today.
Caption coming up.
You're trying to scam him. You can't do that. You can't do work for somebody and then say, now I want to get paid. I've never spoken to you, but now I want to get paid. And if you don't pay me, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to make your life miserable by putting a lien on your house.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Edwin and Kyle.
Edwin Blake claims business owner Kyle Brzezinski damaged his rental home and filed a false lien on his property.
Okay, so now the ball is in your court.
August 19th, they had called to have me come meet and look at the bathroom, which I did. And Mike was there too, as well, had us look at it and said, I go, yes, I can do that. And he said what he wanted done to the bathroom. So leave the tub.
You mean this man told you that?
Yes,
Okay.
leave the tub and leave the tile up the wall halfway. And then he was doing window work on the apartment, on the house, replacing the windows. So they offered to leave the dumpster there so they didn't have an extra charge with the dumpster, because there was a dumpster on site. I said I cannot get to it right now. It would be late November, December before I'd be able to get onto this. So as time went, they got a hold of me and wanted me to come help grab a toilet.
Who they? You mean
Mike,
your cousin?
Mike got a
And
hold
Mike.
of me.
And as far as you know, he's still dating your cousin.
As far as I know.
Okay, go ahead.
So Mike had me come meet up with him to pick up a toilet from another one of Blake's units to use on my cousin's remodel.
So he found a toilet for you.
Yep, from another one of his rentals.
You know anything about that? No. Just check. You know anything about the other toilet? That's all I'm asking you.
I do.
Okay. Go ahead. I'll get to you in a
Okay.
second. Just maybe.
So I did that, and then conversation came back in November when I said, I got time to do this now. Is this good to go? And I got a yes from my cousin saying that Blake had authorized it, and a yes from Mr. Bennett saying it was authorized to go ahead and do the remodel. So then I started on the remodel in December.
You can't do that. You can't do that, Mr. Brzezinski. Sue your cousin. Your cousin authorized you to do work in the bathroom. He never authorized you to do anything.
Mr. Mike Bennett was acting as the agent.
Oh, no, sir. That may have been a giant leap for you. You said you had a conversation with your cousin.
Yes.
And she said, okay, go ahead and do it. And you did it.
Yes.
Did I get that right? Did he? She said, go ahead and do it. She said, go ahead and do it. Sue her. You're not losing. What do you want to interfere for? Okay. Your cousin said, go ahead and fix my bathroom. Sue her if she didn't pay you. You can't put a lien on his property. That's fraudulent. That can get you in real trouble, sir. If you have a license in the state of where? Wisconsin?
Yep.
Yeah? They can lift your license for that. Mm-hmm. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Because I'm going to send them an order.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I don't understand what you're thinking. You knew she was a renter.
Yep.
You say I have to get a contract with the owner of the house to do that. You've been in the business. You said 2.5 years. You have a company for him?
I couldn't get to the website because it was a spam risk to go to the website, but I have a Nextdoor page for the business with a little blurb on their story that doesn't really read professional. It reads more hobby-based.
Got it.
He does landscaping.
It's mostly landscaping.
Mostly landscaping.
His license
By the way,
qualifier.
By the way, in Wisconsin, I know I've had to renovate bathrooms and I've done bathroom renovations, and all of that requires permitting. Did you pull permits on this? Think very carefully. Did you pull permits on this bathroom?
No, I did not.
No, but you were required to pull permits on the bathroom.
There was a permit pulled for the renovations being done already on the house.
You, in the bathroom, didn't pull permits?
Nope.
No. Well, this is a very easy case. I don't even have to ask about a toilet. You didn't have to open your mouth. Mr. Brzezinski.
Yep.
I am sending an order to
the Department of Ag, Trade, and Consumer Protection.
That's where it's going. And it's going to be a strong order. It's going to indicate that you had no permission from the owner of the property to do any work on the property. That's what I found. You've signed off on that, on any judgment that I make, that you sued the wrong person because the owner of the property never gave you permission to do any work, that you did work without pulling permits, and I'm directing them to remove the lien on his house. Do you understand?
Yes.
Great. Now go sue your cousin to get paid. Got it?
Yep.
Yeah, you're trying to scam him. You can't do that. You can't do work for somebody and then say, now I want to get paid. I've never spoken to you, but now I want to get paid. And if you don't pay me, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to make your life miserable by putting a lien on your house. And by the way, if you get me a number, I'll call them as well. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Lien will be removed.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Edwin.
Well, he sent me a bill and he threatened to sue me, but he didn't sue me, and instead of suing me, he put a lien on my property. I didn't even know he was doing it, and I get a bill for this big amount of money to pay for a job I didn't ask for, and the work was just absolutely terrible. I'm not saying he's a crook in general, but in this case, he tried scamming me. Happy it's over.
Sarah and Judy.
So I hope I made it clear what I found. I couldn't find a website on the defendant's LLC, but I did find a Nextdoor page, which is just a business page. It's for neighbors to get ideas. If you're looking for a contractor or a landscaper, neighbors can post on there and give suggestions. So I found his page on there, but in the About Us or Our Story section of his business, it says that he started out landscaping because his mother had a vegetable garden, and then he was good with his hands, so he made it a career choice. But it all seemed very hobby-based and more landscape-based
rather than construction.
A licensed contractor able to redo an entire bathroom. But you know, I think the right thing happened. He can't file a lien on someone's property, and
come on, that you've never spoken to.
Exactly. I was surprised at his position because I know we spoke about this before, and we thought he was going to come in saying that he had all these documents signed with the plaintiff and conversation. Never seen him before today. Just met him for the first time, so kind of was.
Mario Corielli is suing his ex-fiancée, Deidre Ann Weiser, for stolen property and unauthorized credit card charges.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case 3062, Corelli versus Weiser.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Corelli, you and the defendant met in 2020?
Yes.
She was living in Ohio with her son, correct?
Yes.
She's a young teenager.
14.
And after you met, you decided that it would be right for the two of you if Miss Weiser and her son moved in with you, relocated to the state of Florida.
Yes.
And when did that take place?
I believe after we met, within 3 or 4 months, she moved down to Florida.
What month and year would that be?
It had to be before school year. Could be the September, when the school started.
When the school started?
September,
sometimes August, sometimes
2020,
September. Do you remember
like
when you
was,
moved?
We were during a pandemic year, 2020. So I believe it was by the fall of the 2020.
Is that right?
August of 2021.
Oh, I missed a year.
August of 2021.
Correct.
And when did you leave the house? When did you leave?
Ohio or
Florida?
I left Florida March 12th of 2023.
How did you get from Ohio to Florida?
My son and I flew on a plane to Florida.
Did you have a residence in Ohio?
Yes.
What did you do with that residence?
I kept that residence.
And you returned to that house?
I have returned to the house numerous occasions for holidays and things.
But when you left the house and ultimately in March of 2023, you went back to that house?
No, I stayed in Florida.
Oh, you decided to relocate?
Correct. I had already changed my residency to Florida, and I have a nursing license in Florida as well, so I was choosing to stay in Florida.
Okay. And when you left in March, where did you go?
So I went to a friend's place that offered me and my son a room at his home.
And how long did you stay there?
I'm still there.
And is this a friend that you met while you were living with the plaintiff?
Correct. He left on Sunday to go to Maryland.
No. This is a friend that you met while you were living with
Correct.
the plaintiff, a male friend.
Yes.
So you've been living with him for approximately 6 months.
Correct.
In what kind of place?
A condo.
Now, from August until March, when you left, what kind of work were you doing?
I was working, when I moved to Florida, I worked with Mario in several of his businesses. So he had a bar on Marco Island, Mario's Neighborhood Bar and Grill. I managed it, cleaned it, shopped for the bar. And then I also did some sales tax and things for his building supply. So I was working with him.
Were you paid a salary?
Yes.
Were you on the books paid a salary?
I would assume so. I just received a check.
You got a check?
Yes.
Okay. Every week, every 2 weeks?
Every 2 weeks.
And what was the check?
$1,100 and some change.
Did you have a car?
Yes, I had a Jeep.
Did you have that shipped or did you buy it?
I bought the Jeep.
In Florida?
Correct.
Was it new or used?
No.
Did you buy it?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Did you buy it for cash or do you have a loan on it?
I do have a loan on it, and he was making the car payments.
Who put down the down payment?
I believe Mario did.
Who paid for the insurance?
Mario did.
In whose name is the car titled?
Me.
Yours.
Deidre Weiser, yes.
Who pays for the insurance now?
I do, and my fiance does.
Oh, so the person that you're living with now is a fiance?
Correct.
Okay, so you pay for it?
Yeah.
Mario does not?
Correct.
And who pays for the car note?
He does, my fiance.
And what kind of work are you doing now?
I did have a nursing job, but because of the type of career that he has, we travel. So I am working with him.
So you're not working?
Correct.
Which is why he's paying those bills?
Correct.
Sort of like Mario was doing when you lived with him?
Correct.
This is what your case is about, sir. You claim that you went away on business, I assume, for a few days. And when you came home, the defendant was gone. And she took with her several items that belonged to you, which you want back, and that she also charged an expensive bag on your credit card, which she had no authority to do. Those are the things that you want. Is that right?
Yes.
So you want to tell me, Ms. Weiser, what items you took from the home when you left? You acknowledge you took some items from the home, and I get the sense from your answer that you did not purchase those items. He did, but they were extra items. at least some of them were extra items that he has no use for, that he had maybe duplicates of. So I'd like you to tell me what you took.
Absolutely. So when I moved here, I left my job as a nurse.
I don't want a whole story. I
Okay.
want to know what it is you took.
Bed linens.
When you left. Bed linens.
Set of towels.
Bed linens. How many sets of bed linens?
One king set.
So far, is that correct?
Yes.
What else did you take?
Set of towels.
Set of towels. Bath.
Yes. So a washcloth.
Just
hand
one
towel.
set.
So it was a total of 3 sets. So 3 towels, 3 washcloths.
Okay, so you took 3 sets of towels.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct.
What else did you take?
I took a set of silverware.
Set of silverware. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
What else?
A toaster.
Correct?
Correct.
And a pizza pan.
Yes? What else?
I believe that's it.
Anything else that you took?
Well, she took a lot of the stuff that she actually bought for decorating the condo.
Oh,
in the house.
just a second. That she bought.
With my credit card.
Caption coming up.
Are you telling me the toaster oven had not been used?
Never been used.
Is that correct?
It's brand new item bought for the condo. They're all in a box. Everything got stolen at the same time.
So you just took these brand new items and took them with you?
Correct.
You can't do that.